this afternoon or this evening. It's me. I'm Tommy here with day 15 of day 30 of this 30-day live challenge. And today I want to talk about how to raise emotionally intelligent children while you're going through a divorce. I just want to give a shout out to everybody that tuned in last night. All of those who interacted in the conversation, shared it, sent me DMs, everything. I want to thank you guys. I want to thank everybody that's been following me for the last 30 days. It's been a great journey. And I'm at the halfway mark now. So today's topic that we're dealing with, as you guys come in, you guys already know the drill. Go ahead and share this, like this, comment, and engage in the comments. If I say something that you like, let me know in the comments. If I say something that pisses you off, let me know in the comments. Like I said, you guys know I like disagreement. So today's topic, I want to talk about how to raise emotionally intelligent children during a divorce. This is a topic that I really hold near and dear because I cherish my children. I am honored to be their father. Being a father has been the biggest blessing for me. Even being a father through divorce has been one of the grounding factors for me to pursue wholeness, pursue peace, and just ultimately become the best version of myself. My children are a spitting image of me, not just in looks, but emotions, just their actions, their character, and everything like that. And I think that is very important that we as parents understand that, our children's feelings are important. I'm no expert in parenting. I'm the first to say I'm learning. There's no rule book or manual on the best ways to raise children. We all are out here figuring stuff out as we go. But from my experience and what I've learned this far in parenthood, I've learned a lot. And I just want to share some of that information with you guys. Today. So if you're a parent out there going through divorce and you're trying to figure out what's the best method of making sure that your kids stay emotionally intact, this is the live for you. If you're watching live, let me know where you're watching from. If you're watching a replay, go ahead and let me know that you're watching a replay. Let's dive into this. So I got a divorce. One of the things that kept me married for longer than I needed to be was that this idea that society puts out, statistics that show that, children of divorced parents are this much more likely to become this or that, or like they're more likely to dabble in drugs, they're more likely to become criminals, they're more likely to be in prison, and all of these things weighed in on just my me remaining marriage and me deciding what to do when it came down to me filing for divorce. But ultimately, what really was like the icing on the cake, I would say not icing on the cake because that's making it sound like it was something good, but kind of what was my determining factor for divorce was realizing that I didn't want my children to grow up thinking that their parents' relationship was the norm, and they go on to have relationships similar to what they grew up in because this was the norm for them. So I was determined to show my children something different. I was determined to allow my kids to see what's not the right way, as well as to see what it looks like when both parents are happy, like in their best states, right? So it was a challenge for me. The first thing I did was enroll my kids in therapy. I found a therapist. My kids started going to therapy immediately because I wanted to make sure that they were good. I wanted to make sure that you know I understood what they were feeling, because when you go through a divorce, you have kids. It's not just you and your ex going through it; it's the entire family. And whether you have small children, teenagers, or even adults, they are all affected by a divorce. So, like I said, I found a therapist, put my kids in therapy, and went from there. From there, I started realizing that, you know, my kids are very emotional, right? They cry, they cried a lot. Their feelings were easily hurt. So I thought. But the reality was my kids had a lot of emotions, and I had to figure out what's the best way to go about dealing with their emotions. And this is why what led me on my journey to securing their emotional health, and then really trying to raise them um, in a way that they are in tune with their emotions. They know how to express themselves, and they are emotional intelligence, and intelligent, and they can read the emotions of others as well. So this is what led to me doing this, and I want to share with you guys about 3 things that can help you, that has helped me as well, raise emotionally intelligent children. So the first thing that you need to do when it comes to raising emotionally intelligent children is to recognize your children's emotions. Now, as a parent, it's easy to dismiss their emotions, right? Tell them to get over it, quit whining, like legit dismiss their emotions. But what we don't realize is that our children are little humans, meaning those very same emotions that we have as adults, they have as children. The difference is sometimes they don't know what those emotions are. They're just feeling them. It's our job as parents to make sure that we identify these emotions to our children. Recognize when they're mad, recognize when they're angry, recognize when they're sad, recognize when they're scared. It's our job as parents to recognize these emotions, teach our children how to express these emotions in a healthy way. One of the things that I find phenomenal when it comes to my kids is that we have open conversations, right? There are going to be times where I irritate my kids. There are going to be times when I make my kids mad. And as a parent, I had to realize, if my son or my daughter is mad at me, is it disrespectful that they mad at me? No, they're a human. And anytime you're a human, there are going to be people that make you mad if they do something. So it was this one day that my son, he was in his little feelings, and I wasn't thinking nothing of it. I was bothering him, I was, and he got gave me the silent treatment for a little bit. So I'm like, yo, what's wrong? He like, nothing. I'm like, you dude, yes it is. There's something wrong. What's wrong with you? And my first thought was hit him with the, man, you better tell me what's wrong with you right now. But I kind of eased up. I said, man, what's wrong with you? He said, Dad, I'm mad at you right now. And I would prefer that we don't talk right now. And you give me some space. And when I cool down, we can talk. Now, growing up how I grew up, my mama probably would have slapped my lips off my face. But I listened to what my son said. And I said to myself, wow, that's smart. My son recognizes that when he's mad, he might say something that he don't really mean, or when he's mad, he might say something hurtful. And to avoid doing that, he asks for space to give him time to cool down so that he can respond properly. I thought that was one of the most amazing things that has ever that happened between me and my son. Because what it did for me was let me know that, when my son gets older, he'll understand hey, this ain't the time for me to talk. Just let me think about my conversation. Let me think about what I'm going to say. Let me think about this and not allow my emotions to make me say or do things that I truly don't mean. It's important that we don't take that as disrespect, right? It's important that we allow our children to express themselves in a healthy way, right? You may have grew up in a household where your parents told you to be quiet, be seen and not heard, right? You don't talk back to adults, or you don't say this, right? And listen, I'm gonna say some stuff how I raise my kids. You may not agree with me, and that's completely fine. You can raise your kids how you want to raise your kids. But for me in my house, this is how we do things, right? We don't have to agree. We don't have to have the same methods, right? But this is what I believe works, and I've seen it work for my children. So I had to, say to myself, okay, cool, this is what we're doing. My children are very expressive, and I allow them to express themselves without them feeling like if they express themselves, they're gonna get in trouble. You see, the problem with that is that we demonize our children for expressing themselves, right? So you take from birth into adulthood, you've been demonized for expressing your emotions. And then when we become adults, we expect them to automatically know how to regulate and express their emotions. No, they've been trained their entire life not to express their emotions. Now that they're adults, we expect them to be able to express themselves. That's not how that works. Just logically thinking, that's just not how that works. So I choose to allow my children to express themselves now, respectfully. There's nothing out of pocket. Like my son ain't gonna hit me with the "shut up, dad," like the mother people be doing. He's not. They're not going to do any of that. But they will say, like, if I'm irritating them, they'll let me know that I'm irritating them. If if I say something that they don't like, or if I hurt their feelings, they're going to let me know, hey, dad, that really hurt my feelings. They're going to let me know this, and I have to sit back. I can't tell them, well, your feelings shouldn't be hurt, or you need to learn how to deal with it. No, this is a feeling or an emotion that they feeling. We have to teach them how to express that and how to regulate that, so that when they become adults, they're able to express themselves. That's why, people are in relationships now and they talk about, oh, they don't know how to express themselves. And I want him to be more expressive and more in tune with emotions. They don't know how to do it because we've been told not to do it. On top of that, especially if you're a boy, you know, we ain't supposed to cry. We fall. Listen, if your daughter fell off a bike, you're gonna run to her, pick her up. Oh, baby, you okay? Oh, baby, you okay? Your son fall off a bike. Boy, get up. Get up. Quit crying. We rob them from experiencing the emotions that they need to feel. If they never feel those emotions, never understand what triggers those emotions and how to handle those emotions, when they become adults, they will not know how to deal with them. So you have to recognize your children's emotions and allow them to feel it. Okay. The next thing you have to do is be empathetic. All right. Be empathetic to your child's emotion. Listen, this shouldn't be hard for us as adults. Why? Because we used to be kids, right? We used to be children. For some reason, when we become adults, we forget what it was like being a child. We forget what it was like when our parents didn't listen to us, or when we say something and our parents tell us that we getting smart, or we being disrespectful, or we talking back and we legit was not talking back, get smart. Or the funny thing is, and I think about this, how many times have like your parents told you why you got an attitude and you didn't have attitude, and then they kept telling you, yes you do, you got attitude, you got attitude, yes you do, and you didn't have attitude till the point eventually you start to get an attitude because they trying to tell you have attitude and you telling them you don't have attitude. We do that all the time. I just thought that was funny as a little side note. But being empathetic to our children, well, it kind of ties into being empathetic to your children. Understanding that, like, hey, I remember what it was like when I was a kid, right? I know what I needed from my parents as a kid that I didn't get. You should be to the point as a parent, okay? My dad was real mean, so I'm not gonna be that mean to my child, right? My mom was stoic. I needed someone and my mom wasn't there, or my mom didn't, my mom wasn't hands-on, my mom wasn't affectionate, my dad didn't hug me. These are the things that you have to think about when you raise your kids, because maybe your kid is one, maybe their love language is physical touch. I know, for me, my youngest daughter, she loves like being, like, I can be sitting on the couch, she'll find some type of way to wrap her arms around my arm and just sit there and lay her head on my shoulder. No matter, I don't care how big she's gotten, this is what she always does. And at first, when she used to do it, it used to irritate me because I'm like, girl, give me my space. But then I'm like, wait a second. If I push her away when she's trying to express her love language, what am I really teaching my daughter? That her emotions, that her feeling isn't worth being acknowledged. So I had to put my feelings aside and say, all right, cool. This is what you want to do. We're gonna do it. You know, with my son, he's more expressive. Like, he communicates how he feels. When he's talking, I got to sit there and listen, right? I can't tell him, nah, man, you can't feel that way. Nah, that's how he feels. So we have to remember what it was like being a child. We have to remember what it was like when we weren't heard, and allow that to be our compass on how we treat our kids, right? So be empathetic when it comes to your children. The last thing, and this is the biggest one, when it comes to raising emotionally intelligent children, is putting your feelings aside, right? Swallowing your pride, managing your own emotions. because your kids are going to say some things that hurt your feelings. And really, it's not hurting your feelings, it's hurting your ego, it's hurting your pride. I know when it comes to divorce, sometimes some parents want to be, I want to be the best parent, right? I want to be the fun parent. I want to be this. I want the kids to like me. I want the kids always at my house. And some days your kid is going to want to be with their mom. Some days your kid is going to want to be with their dad. And you can't feel no type of way about that. Okay. This is just a side note. Your relationship with your ex is your relationship with your ex. That's not your child's relationship with your ex. That's not your child relationship with you. Your relationship with your ex is separate from that, and you have to keep the two separate. I was watching this video the other day, and the guy was talking about how he keeps his relationship with his child's mother separate from their child's relationship. He was saying in the eyes, he was saying in the eyes of uh of of his children, his mother is a queen, right? Now, to him, his ex could have been trash, but in the eyes of his children, their mother is a queen. As a father, you can't distort that image to your child. That's their relationship with that parent. And if you try to distort that image with that child, you end up actually shooting yourself in the foot, because when your child becomes old enough to understand, they're gonna look at you like, yo, you was the one tripping. So this is why it's important that, in these contexts, this is why divorce gets messy, because sometimes we don't realize that we can't put how we feel about our ex onto our children. I tell my children all the time, like, yo, how I feel about your mama ain't got nothing to do with y'all, right? At the end of the day, that's still your mama. You gotta love her, you gotta respect her. If you ever hear me talking crazy about her, I give you full permission to correct me and tell me to stop talking about your mom. These are the conversations that I have with my kids, because I want my children, at the end of the day, I believe wholeheartedly children need both their parents, especially when there are two parents that are involved. I don't care what the relationship is like, how it turned out. Children need both of their parents. No parent should be robbed of their children. In the same breath, children need to love and respect both their parents. I don't care if that parent is disrespectful to you. I don't care if that parent curses you out. I don't care if at the end of the day, that is not your child's relationship with that opposite parent. Okay, so you need to do everything in your power to make sure you tell your kids, hey, that's your mama, hey, that's your daddy, respect them. I don't want to hear you don't talk back to them. I don't care how they make you. So in situations where it maybe if my son had an issue with his mom, my response to him was, yo, did you talk to her? How about write her a letter? Let her know how you feel. When everything calmed down, then you try to talk. Don't try to talk to her when she mad, or don't talk to her when in the heat of the moment. Let things calm down, and then you go pull your mom to the side on a random day. Hey, mom, you remember on Tuesday when all of that stuff happened? I just want to let you know that, like, that's not what I meant by that, or I'm sorry, or you hurt my feelings when you said this. This is how I communicate with my son and with my daughter, because like I said, at the end of the day, that's going to always be their mom. I never look to even I don't look to replace their mom. I believe wholeheartedly that their mom is their mom. They don't need another mom, right? She's a good mom. And I, even when me and her ain't seeing eye to eye, I make sure my kids understand, like, yo, that's your mom. You need to listen to her. Whatever she say, something you don't agree with, swallow it, give it some time, then approach her and let her know, hey, mom, you made me feel this way. On top of that, I also have to realize that, hey, we have two different parenting styles. Her parenting style ain't wrong, it's just different from mine. So the things that work here might not work there. So I let my kids know, hey, listen, you can try it. If it don't work, you're gonna have to figure something out with your mom. So we have to make sure that, when it comes to raising emotionally intelligent kids, that we're putting our feelings to the side, make sure that our children's emotions are first, and putting ours to the side. Because like I said, man, your ego can be shot when you think your kids, when you had these big plans for your kids, or your kids say something, hey, listen, I don't want to be here today, or I want to go to my mom's house. If you ain't got your feelings intact, your feelings gonna be hurt, because you thought you was the fun parent. You thought you was the parent that your kids wanted to be around. All right. but you have to get your emotions intact, you know, especially when it comes to them expressing their emotions. I sit down every night with my kids when they're here. We have a conversation. Okay, what do you feel like as a father I can do better? And sometimes they say some stuff that make me feel like, dang, like that's how y'all feel. But I have to swallow my pride and say, you know what? If you feel like I need to do this better, I'm going to make an attempt to do that better. One of the things that my kids tell me that you yell too much. Okay, I'll try not to yell. And when they see that you're actually making that attempt to try, you're doing two things. You're showing your kids that you respect their emotions and you respect their feelings, as well as showing them what it looks like when you submit your feelings to honor somebody else's. And that's the biggest takeaway for me when it comes to my children. Okay. Because I want them to be able to, when they get older, when they become adults and they get into relationships, I want them to say, you know what? Is it more important that I'm right or that the situation is peaceful? So when they get into relationships, they get married, they know how to listen to their spouse. And when their spouse tell them something about themselves, they don't go off, well, you do this, well, you do this. No, no, no. Okay, if that's how you feel, what can I do to do a better job? How would you like me to do that? And then they go about trying to do those things. This is why it's important. So I just choose to, raise my children in a way that, you know, they are in tune with their emotions. They know how to manage them. I'm very proud of my son. I talk about him more than I talk about my daughter, but because my son like reminds me of me so much. The way he talks, the way he walks, the way he thinks, like literally is like a spitting image of me when I was his age. And the fact that he expresses his emotions in a way. I remember one day I was at work and something happened between him and his sister. And his sister said that her brother did something. And I was upset. So I sent them both to my office. I said, go sit in my office and don't come out. So I go in the office. The sister tell me what happened or whatever. And I kind of yell at my son. And I tell him to stay in my office. I let my daughter go away. So I come back in my office. My son said, Dad, before you say anything, look at the board. So I look at the board and I always have these quotes on my board at work. Like every day I put a different quote. And today's quote was be slow to speak, quick to listen, and slow to anger. And he pointed that out. He said, Dad, when you send me to this office, not one time did you sit and listen to what I had to say. You automatically got mad and you automatically assumed what I was doing. You automatically assumed that I was wrong. You didn't listen to anything I said. I couldn't argue back with that because he was right. Because that's what I did. I got angry. I got upset because I felt like he did what he did. So I said, you know what, son? I apologize. Now tell me your side of the story. He told me his side of the story, and I did get it wrong. So it was like, we have to be okay with our kids because sometimes if you got emotionally intelligent kids, they are going to correct you. Respectfully, they are going to show you, hey, that ain't right, Dad. And if it's not right, why would you get mad if they pointed out that it's not right? We have to be okay with being wrong sometimes. As parents, the way that I was raised, my parents was always right, even when they was wrong. And I don't choose to raise my children that way. And that ain't no shade or knock to my parents. They did the best with what they knew how to do as parents. Moving forward, I'm trying to do the best that I know how to do. Years from now, when my kids look back, are they going to say that I did some things wrong or I could have did some things better? Yeah, of course. That's going to happen generation to generation. Like I said, we're all learning. Like nobody is a parenting expert. We're all learning. And I believe that in order to raise emotionally intelligent kids, you have to be aware of your own emotions and really like put that on the back burner, get out of your feelings and allow your children to express themselves. This is why I wrote this book called The Dad Factor. It's a 30-day devotional. I believe the link is in the video. If not, I'll put it in the comments. But it's what led me to write that book because I realized that, as a father, I want to be the best father that I can be. I don't want to just be a father just for the sake of being a father, but I also want to show my children what it looks like when somebody is emotionally intelligent, when somebody knows how to express themselves, when somebody makes a mistake emotionally and goes back and correct it. Like, these are the things that I want my children to see, because I want them to be able to manage their emotions in a way that puts them in the best position of life. You know, we prepare our kids for the future, right? We prepare for college. We prepare them, hey, save money. Hey, this is, you know, go to school. But we never prepare our children emotionally. No one ever taught me what it was going to be like when I got my first heartbreak. No one taught me what it's going to be like when I'm stressing over, you know, what it's going to be like when I got to pay bills. Nobody taught me or showed me what it looks like when I experience adult emotions. And I want to prepare my children for that. Not to like scare them, but like to have them so when it does happen, they can be like, you know what? I know what to do in this situation. So those are just some tips that I use to, you know, prepare my children emotionally and raise emotionally intelligent children. So hopefully this has helped you. Thank you again for tuning in. For those of you who watching, go ahead. If you haven't already, go ahead, subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on social media. Go ahead, head over to Amazon, grab my book, The Dad Factor. I will talk to you guys later. Peace out.